Agile PM Foundation Lesson 15, Facilitated Workshops.
We had a quick review of the products you have to create in your project. So how are we going to create them? Some of them are created inside groups and some others are the responsibilities of individual people, but those people still need to receive input from large groups of people. And it all comes to one of our principles, communication. We need to have continuous and clear communications in our project. It improves the quality of everything we are doing, including planning. One of the ways we can improve our communications is the facilitated workshops. It's one of the practices in DSDM. It's very important for us. How can we have a proper facilitated workshop? That's the question. First, we need to have someone responsible for facilitating the workshop, one single person. And as you remember, we already have a role for that in DSDM, the workshop facilitator. That person or group of people are in the supporting layer. You remember we have 3 different layers here, the project level, the team level, which can be one or multiple teams, and a supporting layer, which gives service to everyone in the project. So that person will facilitate our workshops. And what we expect from the facilitator is to be independent of the outcome of the workshop. Because otherwise, you as the facilitator will be biased in a way towards one of the outputs, possible outputs, and it limits the quality of our decisions. So we have that person. What else do we need to do? We need to prepare for our workshop. And it's usually the responsibility of the facilitator to prepare for the workshop. And how can we do that? By defining the objectives. That's the most important thing. We need to have a clear agenda of what we are going to do and what we are going to get out of the workshop. And we also need to do other things for preparation. For example, the place we're going to have the workshop, maybe some drinks, even that kind of things should be prepared beforehand. And when we are doing the workshop, one of the important things is that we should not force any decision or opinion to people directly or even indirectly. We usually do it indirectly. Let's say, for example, one of the senior managers come to the workshop, and right when we want to start a discussion to find a solution to a problem, that senior manager gives an opinion, and then everyone is biased to that opinion. Maybe they are not comfortable objecting that senior manager, or maybe they just approve everything from that senior manager. They believe that he has the best opinions, and therefore we can't think about all possible solutions. So this is a very difficult responsibility of the facilitator to keep everything unbiased throughout the workshop. And finally, well, there are also other things, obviously. In DSDM, we just have a few guidelines about facilitated workshops. And if you really want to have a great facilitated workshop, you have to go and refer to the specialist resources about it. There are many of them out there. For example, we need to have ground rules for our workshop, for any meeting. For example, we say that no one is allowed to use their mobile phones. I love that one. Or even in certain workshops, for innovation, for example, they don't even allow laptops because they want everyone to be creative and free and unbiased and so on. The other thing that we expect from the facilitator is to make sure that everyone is involved in the workshop. There are usually a few people who dominate the meeting or workshop, and some people who are maybe shy or not comfortable. They think anything. They don't talk. So The workshop facilitator stops people from dominating the workshop, and if there's someone who's not talking, the facilitator brings them in, tries to involve them in the whole process. So that's what happens during the workshop. And at the end of the workshop, we also need to document the results and communicate it to everyone who's supposed to know about them, all stakeholders in the project, or a subset of them. And in certain cases, we also have a set of activities we have decided to do after the workshop. In that case, the facilitator also follows up on those actions to make sure that we are doing whatever we are supposed to do. So, this is how we use facilitated workshops in DSTM. And as you see, we have a form and mindset of one team culture here. Or better to say, we try to have this kind of mindset when we have the facilitated workshop, which means if we want to do that, we should bring all people in. We shouldn't say that, okay, this workshop is only for technical people. Maybe in certain cases you need to have workshops for that. For example, if you have a technical problem and you really need to find a solution for that, in that case, technical people would be enough. But for most cases, we need to bring every possible perspective to our decision making, and diversity is very important for us. In that case, we will have this. The other benefits we can have from a facilitated workshop is to build team spirit and consensus. It can even work as a team building activity, something that can help us in the rest of the project. That's a great opportunity. And besides that, when people are involved in making decisions in the project, they feel they own the problem and the solution. They feel they own the project. That's really great, because in that case, you will have their buy-in and they work much better. In every structured way of managing projects, we must delegate. Those people who see in especially more so-called traditional environments, project managers are like a boss. Each project manager is like a boss. They order people and no one is really a decision maker. That's not correct based on our generic project management systems. In Prince2, for example, we have a principle about that. The principle is called manage by exception. Manage by exception is all about delegating power to the people in the lower levels because of everything we talked about here. And when it comes to Agile, we usually insist more on the necessity of this kind of thing. And we have a reason for that. You see, in a predictive system, most of the decisions are compressed in the beginning and at the end of the project. So we can afford to refer all decisions to higher managers. But in adaptive systems, those decisions are just distributed all around the project every day. So if we want to refer every decision to a higher manager, then we can't work. We are always waiting for someone to make a decision. That's why it is more important for us in Agile to have empowered teams. All right, about the benefits of the workshops. The other thing we have is that if you do it properly, decision making or finding ideas, finding solutions to problems will be faster in a well-facilitated workshop. And the result you will get will have a higher quality. That's a fact, but it doesn't happen automatically. You need to really facilitate it, and it's a kind of an expertise. And that's another reason we have a separate role here, the workshop facilitator. That's because DSTM recognizes this as an expertise. All right, so workshops are something we can use when we are planning our project. How do we plan our project? Let's talk about it in the next lesson.